Hey everybody, it's Jordan, and we're here with my 11-month hormone update. I can't even believe it's been 11 months. We're 1 month shy of a year of being on hormones. So, 28 days from today, 4 weeks from today, marks 1 year. And that is wild. It has been an interesting year, to say the least. And I'm not sure we need to really go into a total recap of everything that has happened, but please feel free to go and check out the playlist. It's going to be right there in a second, but it's also going to show up at the end of the video if you want to go check it out. And who knows, maybe you found this through that playlist. Okay, so you see I have this list here because normally I just go stream of consciousness and I have nothing really planned. I let come out what comes out, but this has been a big month and there's stuff that I really didn't want to miss and have to re-record. So we're gonna go through this stuff. I think I'll just stick to the order I wrote things in because that way I can know the order to make chapters for my video and it'll be easier to navigate through for you guys. This was a long intro, so I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, moving on. So, let's talk about boobs. You can see them right here. And I am so happy with how they're coming along. My right one's a little bit smaller, which it's frustrating and kind of annoying, especially because I'm right side dominant, so I expected like this side to exhibit more growth. But I'm wondering if maybe like decreased blood flow related to shoulder injuries from pitching. I don't know. Anyway, that's outside of the scope of my current abilities to determine, so I'm not worried about it, but I'm really happy with my boobs, and you can see that they're coming along pretty nicely. So I'm not wearing a bra or anything right now, and I don't feel the need to because I feel good about how I look in this top. I've been finding a lot of tops that I really feel good about how I look in them, so that has been really fun. And what I'm noticing too is that where I feel the growth happening is changed. So it started off just kind of like all around my nipple, whereas now it's more located under the nipple. And I think what's happening is that there was just kind of generalized breast tissue growth here, and now it's all being pushed slowly upwards by further growth on the bottom, and that's why I'm getting some more definition on these parts of my top here at the lateral and bottom parts of my breasts. So I'm very excited about that. I think they're gonna continue to grow. The women in my family do tend to have some large breasts, so I think I'm gonna be pretty lucky with just what I get out of HRT, but we'll see. So this is 11 months breast growth for me. And yeah, I think that covers the breasts. I did want to talk about my, what was it? I don't have it written here, but it just came into my head. Hyperhidrosis. So, this one's an interesting one. It's only speculation. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure that hyperhidrosis is very connected to estrogen, at least in the case of the one that runs in my family. So my mom has a more mild form of it. My younger sister has quite bad hyperhidrosis, where like her hand, she can hold it out and sweat will collect into droplets and drip off of her hand. And it's not always like that, but it's often happening where it's like that, especially when she's warm. And I've started to notice that happens to me more. Like my left hand over here that's been holding this sheet of paper in my lap is now all sweaty and wet. And for me, it is a little frustrating and annoying. But it's also kind of affirming because it's like, okay, my body's acting more like the women in my family. So I like that in that sense. It's like definitely gender affirming. So that's pretty cool. Family, speaking of you might want to skip this section right here. And that's because I'm going to talk about orgasms for a second. That's the next thing on the list. It's important for everyone to know about, but you guys don't need to, unless you want to. Up to you. Anyway, this kind of goes hand in hand with something else I wanted to talk about with emotional growth. I broke up with my boyfriend on my birthday, on February 13th. So I was already having a not so great birthday, knowing that I was going to lose insurance at the end of this month, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I had been thinking for a little while, like trying to convince myself that I was in a good relationship that was going to last, and be happy with that. But I came to realize I was settling. It was my first boyfriend, the first guy that I ever had sex with. The only guy that I had ever had sex with at that point in time. And I knew that I needed to explore more. That was something that I wanted to do for myself because I'd already found so many things about sex I didn't know I enjoyed that I needed to. I owed it to myself to go out and explore and have more experiences with more partners and do more things. So I did. I broke up with my boyfriend, and within the last couple of weeks since that, I've had a new experience with a different partner, and oh my god, the most mind-blowing orgasms of my life. I swear I've never felt more intense pleasure before in my life, and orgasms used to be a focal experience, but oh my god, whole body just emanating all throughout me, and my legs, I just couldn't even hold my legs still. They were just shaking and spasming, and there was no containing myself. So, wow. All I can say is wow. Estrogen, amazing. 11 out of 10. Would recommend. But seriously, my enjoyment of sex throughout the process of transitioning has increased exponentially. I used to not seek out sex. It was something that I would take as it came and be like, oh, that was great, cool. But it wasn't something I went after. Now it's something I want to go after. It's something I want more of actively because it's enjoyable. I can actually let myself go and just feel some really great things. So thank you, hormones, for that. Okay, so yeah, that breakup that I also wanted to talk about a little bit more, that was huge for me in terms of personal growth. I've never been really the one to end relationships. My marriage, yes, I filed all the paperwork for the divorce and everything, but it was pretty mutually ended. And even so, I rode it out till the bitter end through some pretty crappy stuff. So with that said, I really felt here that I've exhibited a ton of growth, both in terms of my communication style and my ability to express myself in times where it was otherwise difficult, but also in terms of my ability to recognize when the relationship is no longer serving me in the way that it had been. And I realized I was no longer happy in my relationship. I was no longer fulfilled, and I needed to be my own person and live for myself for a little while, because that's what I've wanted to do since I started going on this leave in October. So I did it. I broke up with him, and it was a really difficult thing to do. One of the hardest things I've had to do recently, and it still felt good to take care of it. I feel a lot better now. I feel validated because I've had experiences that confirmed my suspicions that I was keeping myself closed off from really great experiences. And I also feel just generally lighter and more free. I'm living for myself on my own time, not having to coordinate with other people when it comes to my free time. So I can appreciate that a lot, and I'm glad that it turned out that way. I'm not glad that, we had to end things, but I'm glad that I feel good about it after the fact. So I'm not gonna complain about that. And I was just proud of that in terms of my personal growth. And I hope that a lot of you guys, as you start to learn yourselves more, are able to see yourself doing that in your own relationships, friendships, or romantic, whatever they may be. So anyway, I hope that is the case for you. Along this similar path of self-discovery, and you can hear I keep losing my voice a little bit. I'm really trying to sustain brighter resonance to my voice while doing this video, and it's kind of difficult to keep myself doing it for this long. I know it usually fades out after a couple of minutes, so when you hear my voice getting more gravelly like this, that's just because all of these muscles are getting really tired. So, right, self-discovery. I decided to go on leave from my MD PhD program because I wanted to be able to focus on my transition. That was a huge part of it. But another big part of it that I've come to see is a financial component where transitioning is more expensive than the average cisgender person's cost of living. You know, it's like having a chronic illness. You have monthly expenses for medications. You have bi-monthly expenses for blood work, or more frequently if you have other compounding health issues. You know, there's all sorts of stuff to consider in terms of additional costs when it comes to transitioning. And those are costs that are not just going to go away throughout the rest of your life. Obviously, it depends on your insurance plans and whatever sort of coverage you have, but those costs exist. And they're not accounted for when it comes to a cost of living calculation from a university, because they're thinking about the average student. But even so, there were so many discrepancies that I've now come to see about my program and the compensation going on there. And, you know, I'm not going to give too many details about it, but there are conversations to try and have that fixed. So I haven't fully made up my mind about whether or not I'm going to go back to that program, but it's looking like I won't be able to from a financial standpoint. And I've started learning that I don't think my heart's really in medicine. I think that I was drawn to MD PhD because I love helping people and because I love solving problems and figuring out puzzles. And that was a big part of research, which is the PhD side of stuff, and typically the majority of the work during an MD PhD's career. So I've started to realize the thing I loved about research was a lot of data analysis and programming. And I really think that I would like to follow a career trajectory in tech and software development or engineering. Funny enough, I did run into someone who watches my videos and comments regularly on Reddit, and she had posted on a transgender subreddit that we both are members of. And I reached out to her from there and I was like, hey, it's me from YouTube. And we got to talking. And I did express some of these desires to her about wanting to go into software engineering or development. And, you know, she gave me a big vote of confidence based off of what I had to tell her. And I also spoke with a recruiter, a local recruiter in Michigan, who, you know, didn't give me a big vote of confidence. They basically expressed that I'm not going to get a job in the industry right now unless I get a degree. And I stopped to think about it. I looked into degree programs, and my mom suggested some master's programs for people who already have a bachelor's but not in computer science. And I looked into them. They're okay. I don't think they're ideal for me, and I think that they do want even more of a foundation, honestly, than I have. So I've decided that the best course of action is probably to go back and get a second bachelor's degree, and I've applied to some colleges to that end. And I just got my first acceptance today, so that was cool. I actually got accepted to the same university I was already attending, Wayne State University, to do a bachelor's degree in computer science. So that was super cool to wake up to that email this morning, and to know that I've got an option and it wouldn't require moving, which is always great because I've moved way too much in the past few years. So yeah, that's just been a huge part of my last few months is figuring out what I want to do and how I want to do it. And I was trying to just get work and make it work out and like really just get my foot in the door somewhere, get a job, get some experience, and grow from there as some entry-level data analyst or something. And it was just impossible. For months and months I was trying and I could not. And as you guys know, I had some other conflicts with my previous employers, and I am not currently employed, but I do have some updates about my EEOC case from an incident back in late November. So I had an interview for that last Tuesday. Yeah, last Tuesday, so a week ago today. And it was like an hour-long interview, really detailed. They needed me to go over everything that was already in my report, and then some, but still everything that was already in my report. And I did learn that some of the stuff from my report doesn't actually fall under EEOC's jurisdiction. So, like, the unsafe conditions that I had in my locker room, so to speak, and the fact that it was an unequal facility, those don't fall under EEOC, although I thought the unequal facility might. But they fall under OSHA. So anyway, I did get some guidelines about that, and now I just have to wait to hear back from the mediation department at the EEOC in order to know, like what's happening in terms of scheduling a sit-down with this company. So I'm thinking that a lot of this is kind of over my head at this point and above my pay grade. Not that I'm getting paid. So I've been thinking about getting a lawyer involved. I did reach out to a contact at the ACLU, waiting to hear back from them, so we will see. I'm going to follow up soon. Yes, so I spoke a little bit about my voice, but I didn't mention the fact that on February 8th, I think it was, I went to an otolaryngology appointment at University of Michigan, and I got an endoscopic assessment of my vocal cords. So I didn't expect it to be such an invasive exam. And maybe somebody told me that at one point. I don't remember though, so I feel like I would have remembered having to get an endoscopic exam. Anyway, it wasn't so bad. I had one done when I was younger because of recurring sinus issues, and well, I don't have sinus issues anymore like that. So that wasn't why we were doing it. It was just scope up my nose and down into my throat so that it could look at my vocal cords from up above. And it was really interesting to watch. I could see on a screen my vocal cords as they were vibrating with the changes in air pressure. And it was just super weird. They had me do all sorts of different things to test my vocal range. And they did say that, they think vocal therapy is going to be very successful for me, so I'm hopeful that they're able to teach me how to take this voice and make it sound more natural, because we all know this does not. That said, I have been passing more frequently, so I am not too concerned about that. I think I'm starting to just look more feminine in terms of my appearance and my body and my mannerisms, so people are just, accepting me as ma'am and miss and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's good. Yes, right. That's why we have this. So anyway, they're recommending that I go for vocal therapy. I get to start that May 1st. I am super excited. I just hate that I have to wait. So, oh well. And let's see. The last thing on here I haven't touched upon that I wanted to was insurance. So I've mentioned it before. On the 26th, I turned on the 13th, half of the 26th, I turned 26. So I lost my insurance today. Today was my last day of having insurance coverage from my parents' plan. And because of that, I've had to, kind of scramble because I wasn't so proactive about getting myself insurance coverage as I should have been, especially being someone with monthly medications. But anyway, I went ahead and went to the healthcare.gov website, and from there filled out my application. It was super simple. They just asked for information that, a U.S. citizen should have handy. And I was able to just go ahead and submit that online. And it told me at that point that because I had no income and no anticipated income, that I wouldn't be able to sign up through the healthcare marketplace. So I had to wait for correspondence from my state's Medicaid office. And I did get that. It looks like I've been approved for the Healthy Michigan plan. And further, they've requested my Social Security card uploaded to the portal so that they can approve me for Medicaid. So it looks like that's going to happen. And I looked into it. The cool thing about that is I would get all of my gender-affirming care services covered and not have to really worry about being able to see my doctor. And co-pays for my visits with a primary care physician, they're going to be like $2. So I'm not too concerned. It sucks that I have to be on Medicaid of all insurances and relying on government insurance, but it's nice to know that my services are going to be covered. So to anybody else who is in a similar situation relying on Medicaid, I really hope that you're in a state where they're not coming at your care. That would be pretty terrible. So that about does it for the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of my own transition journey. As you can see, I have like a little cleavage with this lighting. I'm so happy with the way that my moves are growing. Like, you can see it on my face. I can't even continue myself. Oh, I did also want to show you guys like my lower body, because I've been exercising a lot, and also, of course, the estrogen does redistribute the fat around your body to collect more around your hips and your thighs and your butt. So I figure I'll just stand up and show you. Like, this is what's going on. You can see like there's a little bit more of an outward shape here that was not always there, and it's because I've been exercising some more, and you can see here that fat is collecting right there around that spare tire region. So that is okay. I'm actually pleased with that because I had no curve there. It was like a straight up and down. If anything, it went in. So to see this is pretty nice for me, and I'm pleased with that. And look at that. That's a butt. That is a butt right there, and I've never had a butt, so I am very happy, and I am starting to really like looking at myself in the mirror. That has not always been true, so it feels good. Anyway, I think that really does it, so I'll let you guys go. This has been a long one. Sorry that I can't seem to get my point across quickly, but it's hard to pack a whole month's worth of events into a single video that's not too terribly long. Maybe if I posted more frequently, I wouldn't have to do that, but it's hard to get the motivation to do this. And even though I had it all day earlier, it was lost for a while, and it took me until now, 8:30 p.m. to get this done. You can see this pile of clothes over here in the background. These are boy clothes. That's why they're piled up there, because I won't be wearing them anytime soon. So those are to be donated, and I simply have not had the executive function in place to put them in a trash bag for donation. So I'm gonna go do that right now while I'm telling myself I should on the internet. Bye. Why am I rambling?